Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, in this first session, I would like to elaborate why the terrorism being big issues in international relation. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a tragedy that make a frame in Australia, England, America, and so on, that make them realizing that if the terrorism is the one of the prevalent object of securitization. What is tragedy? The tragedy is 9/11. 9/11 changing the face of international relation. The first that international relation only focus on the state actor, but after 9/11, international relation changing or shifting to the non-state actor. The one of the foreign policy that counter terrorism in the world, that the biggest counter terrorism foreign policy is the war on terror. The war on terror that conducted by United States of America. It was conducted in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in the Middle East exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, the terrorism is the one of transnational crime that the actor of the terrorism have something like network. We can imagine that there are networking between the terrorism in Syria, Indonesia, Philippines. So that's why international relations said that terrorism is transnational crime, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, why Australia conducting the big put the big hope to Indonesia or ASEAN to counter terrorism and extremism? We can make relating dots. We can relating dots in geopolitical and geostrategic aspect, ladies and gentlemen. Because why? As we know that Indonesia between Asia and also Australia. Indonesia being terminal between Asia and also Australia, and also Philippines too. So that's why Indonesia and ASEAN being is the central to make securitization of Australia right now here, right, America, right, Australia, ladies and gentlemen. And also, the terrorism being important issues because the tragedy in Indonesia, Bom Bali 1, first Bom Bali, second Bom Bali, and also the bomb in the embassy of the Australia, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Hu, in his books International Security Studies, Theory and Practices, frame the terrorism as the we can analyze terrorism in the conservative constructivist theory, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because we can observe after 9/11, Australia and the NATO framing Islam as the terrorism, or we can say that there are Islamophobia, ladies and gentlemen, and one of residue of the Islamophobia we still feel right now, ladies and gentlemen. And then because of the social construction, it influencing the foreign policy of ASEAN influencing the foreign policy of the Australia too, and shaping the foreign policy of the United States too as the partner of the Australia. So that's why social construction make shaping the relation between ASEAN and also Australia. So that's why Australia and ASEAN make one of partnership or agreement in counter-terrorism, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe enough, or maybe the regulation or agreement of ASEAN and Australia will elaborate with our next speaker. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain amma ba'd. Thank you for the moderator and also our distinguished who can say that the distinguished guest, and also all the participants who want to discuss more about the Australian and Asian against counterterrorism, and how more likely is counter-violent extremists, or based on regulations on ASEAN, is a counter-violence extremists and preventing violent extremists. There's some definitions that create in 2009. It's based on ASEAN Regional Forum that ASEAN also plus one is Australia, conclude that the terrorism is the main factor. That's the main factor. I mean, like main factor in the security sphere is also the best based on definitions on terrorism acts that I will explain more about in likely further. So first thing first, just want to introduce myself. My name is Akbar Azmi. So I'm from in this forum, International Political Forum. I'll be as a speaker from director of the Westphalian Institute, and also the former of consular employee in the Consulate General of the Republic of Indonesia in Perth. So, okay. The first thing is I just want to make some. We have to first before we talk more about the cooperations, counterterrorism, and how ASEAN and Australia did to make some security in some regional in ASEAN in Asia Pacific. So we have to more know about the definitions about terrorism act itself. So I just want to I just want to explain about the terrorism in ASEAN Regional Forum in 2005. So all country in ASEAN include Indonesia, and plus one is Australia, because Australia is a key role, because Australia is the second main funding in the world after United States. Okay, I'll back to the definition of the terrorist. So what is terrorism? What is the terrorist act? So terrorist acts based on the ASEAN Regional Forum is some serious violence. So it's based on serious violence intent to influence or public or institutions by intimidating civilians in that society and committed by non-state actor. So that concludes this terrorism. The main subject of the terrorism is non-state actor, which is there's no state doing some terrorism. There is no Indonesia doing some terror. So if some like Pakistan or Indian or something country say that Indonesia doing some Indonesia or Australia doing some terrorism, that's not main of these definitions. So the Terrorism Act is meaning about the non-state actor. So it might be like transnational organization crime, or so for example like in the Philippines is Moro National Liberation Front or Abu Sayyaf Group, or maybe in the 2002 is Al Qaeda. That's the first terrorist group that we like the world admit that Al Qaeda is the main group of terrorism in the world. So, okay. So, all right. So, furthermore, just want to explain about the Terrorism Act. So, the terrorism itself, it can be terrorist because it's not for a public sphere. You know, it's like if you're doing some terrorist activity, like it's for individual, that's not harms for people, that's not terrorism. That's not only, it's only ordinary crime, not super extra. I mean, like it's not extraordinary crime that a terrorist means. So terrorist act means it means like you doing some activity that harm for the public sphere. That's it. And that's the terrorism. So you have to be like more detail about what is the main thing of the terrorists. So you can't say that terrorist is more like necessary thing that it doing by individual, but it harm for individual itself. No, it's for the public sphere. Right. I'll say to further about that. I will say. So, and why terrorism is the like today, like you know our president, Mr. Joko Widodo, more concerned about the terrorism, is more focused on terrorism or some like program deradicalizations in Indonesia. It is why terrorism is developed. Terrorism is developed. Absolutely, it's fair developed. It's more like you can say that terrorism in all around. I mean, all around the world. It has some organizations. So you can say in India they have some like activity because of the Muslim itself that being harmed is in Kashmir. Yeah, there's some one of the example, or maybe on the Syria is like ISIS, or in some media it's like IS is what is called ISL is how IS it means for definitions.
Islamic State.
Yeah, Islamic State. Thank you for that. Okay, Islamic State. So in the Philippines, it's Moro National Liberation Front. It's also in the Pattaya in Thailand, and also in Myanmar, Rohingya, or it's all around the world because it's matter because the Muslim is the majority, because Muslim is the religions who it's become bigger Muslim in the world. It's because of the quantity, and Also because some trigger in who Mr. Speaker Hafiz said that is war on terrorism is developed in 2002. It sounds, I don't know how to say that the war on terrorism itself, it said that it's a foreign policy in our major international relations. But war on terrorism, or we can say WOT, is some like not the bias. It's like is this like some campaign? Yeah, it's more like campaign to influencing the all the state actor, influence the state actor to do it to do what the US said. US, right? Because you know, in fact, a war on terrorism itself is because the reason why war on terrorism is developed because it's 9/11, right? The 9/11 is like I was said before is Al Qaeda who behind that what is tragic maybe some tragic moments, but that's how to US the more likely influence the all the country to awake about the terrorism acts itself. So that's why I'll be back more specific about the how US is influence the Indonesia, also in ASEAN, in regional in Southeast Asia, and also it's also in Australia, right? So Bali bombing in 2002 is mainly like because about the war on terrorism in 2002, right? So when the Bali bombing happened? It's October, right? So October 2002, right? Bali bombing October 2002. The war on terrorism is 2001. Yeah, it's only 1 year, and it can construct the people, the individual doing some same act like terrorists. They're more like harms to other people. So after that, the Bali bombing, who is the main people who got the got violence? It's Australia because right, it's Bali, Australia. Oh yeah, all the tourists in Australia always going to the Bali because the if you go, October is summer. October in Australia is summer. But if you're doing some like travel activity, all Australian is always want to Bali. That's the fact. You can say that. You can talk to other Australian that Bali is very good for the Australian to do some travel, and that's the persistence time to doing some terrorism acts. That's why Bali bombing. Right, so all Australian get a major violence, right? And after that, Australia is was to want to create some response about why Indonesia don't act like response that security, because Australia is that mentions from Mr. Hafiz said that Australia is a part of in Southeast Asia, right? It's more like Indonesia is a neighbor. Indonesia is neighbor. In practical international relations theory that's John Rusnell said from the foreign policy, how to know foreign policy. It said that geography is the main factor about the foreign policy. That's why Australia wants, like begging begging Indonesia to some response, like more likely coercive acts, like you have to do something with this, all the violence, because my people is being harmed, is all that. That's why Australia and with Indonesia and also with the US, because it is based on the war on terrorism. Yeah, that's what I said before. Like Australia, US, and Indonesia create a special detachment, or we can say Densus 88, right? It's created by Australia. Okay, so after that, I just want to make sure about the in these discussions, I want to more likely explain about how Australian, in the perspective of Australia, about these issues, about this phenomenon in counter-terrorism or counter-violent extremists and preventing violent extremists. So, how Australian contributing on these issues is first is analysis. It's like Australia just give some knowledge to Australia, give some knowledge, intelligence to Indonesia. It's more about the how to make some a good security against these issues. It is also protections, taking all unnecessary and practical actions to protect Australia itself, in maybe not only Bali but around Indonesia, and also responses, providing an immediate target response specific terrorist threats and a terrorist attack that they occur. And the fourth is a resilience, building a strong, resilient Australian community to resist the development of any form of violent extremism. That is based on the Australian statement on ASEAN Regional Forum in 2005. Then that more likely to develop about the policy itself in ASEAN. So, how Australian that do more about the counter-violence and extremism and also these issues is Australian aid. So Australia is the biggest. The biggest. Yeah, it's the biggest. The second is Singapore. Yeah, it's providing $3.5 million to strengthen to Indonesian programs. It's also to the police in Indonesia to secure and more likely to just like give them knowledge to make some a good program to preventing the extremists in Indonesia. So there's the Australian aid aims not only for the Indonesian programs to be radicalizations or etc. But it's also to supporting the efforts of anti-money laundering by Indonesia Financial Intelligence Unit and the Insurance Directorate of Ministry of Finance. So, because terrorism can't do anything without money, right? So it's more likely in Indonesia, like today, some news terrorists doing some terrorist acts with knife because they don't have any money. So they want to express itself that extremist Muslim say they want to going to the heaven, purpose to heaven, and but they don't have any money, so they use a knife to kill some people, representing that they are not parties of, or we can say in Arabic or Indonesia is Togut or something like that. That's why. So the Australian aid is want to secure not only in the security like not only for the security minister of security in Indonesia, but it's also to secure in the Ministry of Finance. That's the point. And the three is supporting the efforts by Indonesian legislative in drafting anti-money. It's also in Indonesian legislative. It's like DPR or Parliament, like to do something like create some bill. Like maybe Ms. Rizka will know about that, because we like 2016. I'm just have a chance to contribute to our bill on terrorism in Indonesia in bill on terrorism 2003, like revisions, and it's because the you have when you want to when you want to counter all the violent extremists, it's a security, finance. Last but not least is the bill itself. Bill is, I mean, like the law. The law is a very important thing to counter, to make some program that legal to counter all the terrorism acts. So after that, I just have some diagram or like some pictures, but I can explain it because the Australia is why I explain more about Australia, because Australia is the main country who support all Indonesian government activity against counter-terrorism, and also against terrorism, and also the issues about counter-violence and extremism, and then preventing violent extremism. It's like Australia doing the two things, like the counter-terrorism activities is focused on increasing efforts and fundings. So Australian always funding to ASEAN, and also Indonesia itself in the ASEAN, because Indonesia is very important for Australia because, like I said before, it's neighbor. And the second thing is this counter-terrorism challenge. So what is the so how to Australian doing some challenge? What is the challenge of the how to do some counter-terrorism? So it's like a more preventing the attacks about the terrorists itself. So Australia is more like increasing security trade. So I can explain you about the how like the details of how Australian doing some I mean, like implementing this how can I say that this concept to Indonesian government. So Australia, when you want to go into the Australia, all of you want to go into the Indonesia, you have to pay some visa, right? So in the visa process, you have it's connected with the Australian Federal Police in Australia. It also connected with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Australia. It's also connected with the the biggest intelligence organizations in Australia, named Australia Security Intelligence Organizations, or we can say ASIO, because the ASIO is the oldest intelligence organizations in Australia. That's why Australia government always like keep the ASIO maintains all the security, and it is also has a key role in the combating terrorism that continue to collect information. It's also and tell the government, especially something dangerous or unpleasant, that is likely to happen, so that the government can avoid it. That's from the inspector of. This statement is from the Inspector General of Intelligence and Security Annual Report 2001-2002. So it's maybe oldest, but that's the main thing why this reason all the happens today. So the other supports, I mean, like there's the main thing, like say that the security, the finance, and also a law in Indonesia. So Australian supporting and also influence all the products in government Indonesia in that three sectors I said before. And also the other support from Australia to Indonesia is travel security. So all Indonesians, all Australians have some travel security, like insurance, like some insurance, or you can say it in how to say that, swasta, private sector. Yeah. The government has itself, the product itself is travel security to all, also Indonesia and Australia. So, Indonesia and Australia is very compact. It's very significant about these issues. I mean, like to counter these issues. That's why in Australia is I don't know who can say we have to thank to Australia, but Australia have to thank Indonesia too, because without Indonesia, Australia is nothing. But after that, the Indonesia and Australia is in immigration has cooperation itself, like bilateral agreement between Indonesia and Australia in immigration. So it's like it's more like exchange data about the people. It's all the people in Indonesia and Australia. It's because security issues. Yeah, that for example, like what I've said before, like when you want to go into Australia, you will check on the face and the visa, and check all the it is harms, it is not. Yeah, you can go travel to Indonesia or Australia. I have some well, how can I say that when I'm in Australia, I just have some people from Pakistan and Iraq. They want to apply some visa to Indonesia from Australia, but we reject all the visa because in the system say that they are not eligible, because it's red. It said that it's not eligible. So yeah, they cannot travel to Indonesia. That's the one system. Like that's the detail. That's the techniques of the system that Australian and Indonesian create to like that travel security. So that's it. And last but not least is education sector. So Australian contributing education sector is more likely to like giving supported education partnership with Indonesia, because education contributes in fighting terrorism itself. Both countries have promoted government-to-government cooperations in education sector, like to support Indonesian government's educational goal for 9 years. I mean, like not 9 years. We extended that. I mean, like last 2014, I think. 2014, we extend to cooperate more about bilateral agreement. Oh no, this year. This year we extend to cooperate more about the education sector, in about not only for educations to giving some scholarships, but also to giving a knowledge of fighting against terrorism. So Australia provided funding in education in total amount 43 of 437 million Australian dollars. So for all that I've said is I conclude that the Australian assistance programs to Indonesia is more likely effective in combating terrorism. It's very obvious because Australian government's assistance is all the sectors in Indonesia. That means that cooperations between Indonesia and Australia is the key. Is also like more manifest, and it also means Indonesia and Australia cooperations and also the program is the role model around the world. So after that, that's true, because after that, European Union doing some activity create some policy, not merely like Indonesian Australian, but it's influenced because of Indonesian and Australian relations about this. So the detachment, special detachment 88 or detachment Densus 88 is also the best role model to act against counterterrorism. But to preventing some extremists, violent extremists and counter violent extremists, not only the responsibility about the government itself, it's responsibility about all the people, all the individual in all around the world, because the counterterrorism, the terrorism itself, is more like partial and more particular. So you can say there's some definitions named lone wolf. Yeah, lone wolf is that's the best example when the organizations like IS or ISIL or Al Qaeda itself can construct the people and doing some terrorism act to all the people that harms to all the people. So the organizations, not the main thing, but the lone wolf. But the example about the lone wolf, it can the best best example that terrorism is involved and more developed. That's why this year in 2019, ASEAN and Australia is more discussed about the rights program to not counter violent extremists, but preventing violent extremists. It's like the program in Indonesia said, like this integration program or disintegrations and reintegration program, and the maybe Ms. Rizka will explain about that because it's more like details about the
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Rizka. I'm a researcher from Prasasti Perdamaian, and this institute was built for 10 years and reach out the combatant or ex-terrorism. And so my research based on my experience also to reach out the ex-terrorism and also focus on radicalism and terrorism, and also we built the preventing terrorism also. And then if Azmi and Hafiz tell about Hafiz, right? tell about the definition, about the theoretical. Maybe I just want to tell about the movement itself. The radicalism and terrorism, maybe they said that is the constructivist, that is the how the what is it, the regulation. But in my opinion, the terrorism and extremism is the real happen now. Based on related with Australia, and Jamaah Islamiyah itself have the Mantiki in Australia. As we know that Jamaah Islamiyah, that is the Al-Qaeda affiliated, have 4 Mantiki. Mantiki 1 is in Singapore and Malaysia, and led by Muklas. Muklas is the preventator of Bali bombing, we know. And the Mantiki 2 is the Indonesia, Western Indonesia actually. That is Sumatra, Kalimantan, and Java, led by Ustadz Adung. The name is Ustadz Adung. The Mantiki 3 is Philippines, and also Sulawesi, and is Indonesia, and based on in Poso and also Mindanao, led by Nasir Abbas. And the last one is Mantiki 4 is Australia. So Australia is Mantiki for Jamaah Islamiyah. Why Australia? Because Jamaah Islamiyah believe that Australia, they can make Australia as a fundraising. They can get much money from Australia, and also in Australia, the Muslim is the developing of Muslim is very fast. But actually, we know that in Australia itself, the converts of to be Muslim that made by Nahdlatul Ulama and PKS, but recruited by GI itself, and also GI have good targeted, I think. Why Australia is very related with GI? Because first, we know that many victims in Bali bombing is the Australians, and also why Australian? Because the perpetrators of the Bali bombing itself, like Ali Imran said, Ali Imran targeted the Sari Club, who especially for foreigner. The Sari Club is especially for foreigner. So why that the Sari Club is the target of the bombing, and also the second one is because we know that the Australian embassy as the second targeted from GI, and the MUIS as the what is it, the I think the planner or the coordinator, and MUIS now the mind behind. And MUIS now in Nusa Kambangan, we know. And I just want to tell that now MUIS in Nusa Kambangan by death sentence, and not yet executed by government, and MUIS convert from GI to be ISIS. And MUIS is the coordinator from Tamrin bombing, from Sarina bombing. So I think also that is our homework, the Indonesian government homework. By after the sentence, maybe we have to fastly to execute the preventators, because we don't like anymore like MUIS. And also after Australia, also I think Australia is very interesting because GI made Australia as the Mantiki, but sometimes GI looks Australia as the long distance enemy. In GI, in their understanding, there is 2 types of enemy. The first is the short enemy, maybe the near enemy. And the second one is the long distance enemy. The long distance is like Australia or US or the affiliated with US also. That is the long distance enemy. But the near enemies like police, the government also, and also the maybe they said like we know in Poso there is the conflict, the sectarian conflict between Muslim and non-Muslim. They said the non-Muslim is the near enemy until now, and also in related with ASEAN, Filipina also as the interesting one, I think, because Filipina is the center of the ASEAN radicalization with Abu Sayyaf network. We know also in the maybe in March this year, the two deportees, the deportees is the one who deported from Turkey who want to join ISIS, but deported from Turkey and back to Indonesia. The two deported go to Philippines and to be a suicide bomber in the church in Philippines. So and they join the Abu Sayyaf network. And I think Duterte aggression is not clear because they just destroy the territory, but not the arrest the perpetrators. So why Philippines is still I think the high tension for the radicalization, and also the new things, I think, after alumni from Afghanistan arrested by Densus 88, now GI led by alumni from Philippines. It's like we know Parawijayanto just arrested. Parawijayanto now is the new leader from GI and just arrested by Densus, and Parawijayanto is alumni from Philippines. So after the alumni from Afghanistan is finished, so the regeneration come to the alumni from Philippines. Then maybe after the alumni of Philippines is finished, maybe the alumni of Aceh, the Aceh training, will be lead the organization, I think. So there is a movement from Afghanistan and then to Philippines and then to Aceh, I think. So we have to worry about it because if the government have a wrong way to release the returnees from Syria, maybe the returnees will make the new network in Indonesia and then make a new caliphate based on the GI Mantiki, and the network will expand from the ASEAN, will be in Filipina and then Australia, and then Sumatra and Malacca. That we know also that in Malaysia and Singapore there is ISIS ISIS member over there. So I think just it I can explain, but we can discuss anything about the movement of GI or the radicalization and terrorism after in the question and answer. Okay, thank you.